All right, let's get this puppy up and running. It's 11:30. It's a juggling act here at WDRB with the weather team as we await thunderstorms that will develop this afternoon. Sunshine starting to poke on through. I'll be doing the midday show, which begins in 30 minutes. So this isn't going to be the longest live stream ever, but you will get quite a bit of good information from it. We have some new info to pass along from what we've looked at from yesterday and then early this morning. And then the weather team continues to analyze all of this playing out, to which is more than likely going to drop some severe weather across parts of Kentuckiana. And we still have some time to enjoy lovely weather. I mean, it's not terrible out. We're now in the 60s, tropical feels. Got up into the 70s in my house yesterday. I looked at the thermostat at one point, and it was 74 degrees. Open up the windows, let in some fresh air. There will be good to this day. So I'm sitting here looking at the radar, and I want to give you a look at the radar as well, at what's going on, and not much. The satellite's also overlaid. It is definitely mostly cloudy. But as we get some drier pockets working in from southern and central Kentucky, we've seen a little bit of that peekaboo sun. And any amount of sunshine that we have just produces a bit of extra warmth. Just because it's sunny in some spots doesn't mean that location gets severe weather. It just helps aid some extra instability when you have a few of those extra degrees thrown on. So that's a look at the radar, a close-up view. Out in Missouri, as that low pressure develops, we're going to see some action move into Illinois, and it's going to arc and form a broken line and move off to the east-northeast. And herein lies the problem, because as it moves on top of us, with those 60s about to move into the low 70s, those warming temperatures combined with those dew points climbing to near 60, and then when you factor in the developing wind field that will intensify, all of this is going to point to the likelihood of most of us picking up some sort of a watch in the Ohio Valley. I would say the northern half of Kentuckiana within the next few hours would most likely go under a tornado watch. I think just because the parameters show so much twisting in the air and some rotating updrafts that the likelihood is for a tornado watch versus a severe thunderstorm watch. We haven't gotten into the strongest winds as of yet. In fact, when you look at everything, you have to go down towards Little Rock to find those gusts that are really starting to go 32 miles per hour down there. But all of this will eventually swoop up in, and we're going to be right on the nose of this jet stream. And that also helps produce a better chance for some severe weather right when you're in that front quadrant of some of those extreme winds that develop. It's almost like it's pointing towards us as it comes in from western Kentucky, southern Illinois, and southwestern Indiana. So it will get windier. And if there has been any sort of change in the weather modeling that we have noticed this week, it comes down to a small change, but it's undeniable that the amount of instability is now a little bit higher. It was very, let's say the continuity was very high all week. You know, the consistency was up there from Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday into yesterday, that severe weather was a good chance in the Ohio Valley. Now, just recently, since we are seeing slightly higher amounts of instability, that's one of the reasons the Storm Prediction Center added in the enhanced risk that we'll look at here shortly. We're still not talking April, May standards of thunderstorm fuel, but it's definitely something that we have to take into consideration when we put together the forecast, and we're starting to max some of that out at 3 o'clock. And if you look at the thunderstorm energy map, as you go in between Louisville and Indianapolis, one thing that I wanted to show you, there's not a consistent area of green and yellow. One of the reasons you see some of these voids in here, this particular model shows thunderstorms developing in that environment, feeding off of it, taking it away. So that's where it's showing thunderstorms in that particular area of thunderstorm fuel. That's one of the reasons you see those little holes developing in there. And as that continues up north from Louisville to Indianapolis, Louisville to Cincinnati, it continues to be the hot spot with round number one. Round number two arrives with the cold front tonight. By the time that front gets here, you know, you're looking at, midnight, or definitely thereafter, that's the time of the day where we've already had rain cooled air. It's after sunset, so the temperatures are dropping. So logic would suggest that you're not going to see nearly as much thunderstorm energy. So when it comes to the warm front versus the cold front, which one produces the most problems? Well, all signs are saying the warm front. Not that the cold front won't come in with anything potentially severe late tonight, but the warm front is going to steal the show. That's the main headline. That's the one that has the most torque in the air, the helicity, where we do have the chance for rotating updrafts and the possibility for tornado warnings. So it looks to really get going in that 2 to 5 o'clock window this afternoon, heading into early this evening. This map that we're looking at here is something that I do like to show quite often when severe weather is on the table. So we showed you just the plain and simple thunderstorm fuel regional view. Now I'm using that thunderstorm fuel and combining it with spin in the air, what the winds are doing as you go from the surface up. So when you put that together, notice the northern flank of those colors matched up with that warm front, and it makes it from around Cincinnati to Indianapolis. I really don't expect the tornado threat to go up farther north than Indianapolis. I think this is a southern Indiana, Louisville to Indianapolis, I-64 to I-70 region where the thunderstorms are most likely to tap in to those ingredients. And I want to mention once again, as we make this crystal clear, when you do comparisons, as you look at weather charts and like, okay, this event in the past, this event, what could happen? This isn't something that shows up as a signal like this is going to end up as an outbreak and there's tornadoes all over the place. This very well could come down to just 2 or 3 discrete cells that develop and move along, and those are the ones that we have to pay attention to, and the other ones really don't do much other than drop some rain and produce some lightning strikes. So we have ingredients, but we don't have everything to showcase widespread severe weather. It's more of a localized event. As you can see, that enhanced risk that the Storm Prediction Center put out, it was around 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning. And it makes sense, analyzing everything, all of the information that started to show up last night was still there this morning. So it was the necessary call. In fact, one of the things that I did this morning, I had drawn on a location where I thought we have a little bit higher potential to get hail and some tornadoes, and that matches up. So Cincinnati, Louisville, Madison, you can see the areas that I have highlighted in there. I just think we need to pay a little more attention, not that it's no less important elsewhere, but this area just has more of those ingredients, the severe weather parameters to tap into. Now to our future weather products. We have your temperatures, future satellite, future radar, future winds. This is within the next 20 minutes, and it's matched up pretty good. We'll often look at this to see, does it link up to what is actually happening at the ground? And we're within a couple degrees here or there. Shows a few breaks in the clouds. That's happening. The winds aren't too out of control just yet. You don't see those arrows moving real fast, so it's not like it's that windy. This is pretty much spot on. So we know it's initializing well. Now we advance it to 2 o'clock and starting to get those pop-up downpours, some lightning embedded in this line. At 2 o'clock, decent chance that we are going to find, like I said at the beginning of this stream, decent chance that we will have a watch box issued. If not, then shortly thereafter. More than likely, it's going to include places like this, somewhere in there. The Storm Prediction Center doesn't even have anything issued right now for a meso discussion. It's just one of those, the way we're watching this evolve, that is highly likely to happen. So at 2 o'clock, a few of these isolated storms, you don't ever truly see a line formed and become a perfect line. There's going to be kinks in it. There's going to be breaks. But that also isn't the best news, because where you look at these discrete cells, they can act on their own, nothing to mess with it. They sit out there, feed off whatever instability is there for the taking, and you don't have any other storms to disturb it. So in one aspect, it's great that we're not expecting widespread severe weather, but in another aspect, the fact that these isolated cells are there, they can probably develop, and then once they go, they're going to keep going and not necessarily dissipate until it moves out of our region. So here's a close-up view at 3 o'clock. And another thing to see here, you start to get these comma heads. Our radar simulation is actually picking up hooks on these. There's rotation being noted just in the overall rain pattern in these cells, and that's important to see. You know, as a meteorologist, if you have a radar simulation, one of your computer models that is actually picking up how these storms might look, and when it shows that configuration, it's obvious that it knows there's a lot of twisting with those winds in the air. So that's a 3 o'clock outlook. I'm going to throw in the disclaimer that is mentioned very often by me because it often gets overlooked, and that is, don't check this out, snap it in your head, and then go about your business and think, well, Jude showed me a radar simulation at 3 o'clock. It had something out around Marengo. There was a storm cell that was over around Taylorsville, and I don't live there, so we're fine. That's not how it's going to work. It could be this, highly unlikely, but what this shows you is how this overall pattern should evolve and these storm structures should take shape. So we'll advance it on. The initial wave of storms, the first round, is more than likely going to have the best chance of affecting Metro Louisville. It might not even get to Louisville because it's not a fully formed line. But if there's going to be storms or any severe weather in Louisville, it's more than likely going to be at the very beginning of this, and then it starts to lift to the north. Each one of those cells with those stronger updrafts, rotating updrafts, will have the likelihood to produce some hail at least to 1 inch in diameter. We could get some hail reports today up to 2 inches in diameter. I wouldn't be surprised by that. And then also each one of those cells have a decent chance of rotating and could turn into a tornado warning. Repeating the good news, it's mainly for the northern half. The southern half could miss out on much of the severe weather chance. And also, these look to be isolated. Now we're at 5 o'clock. Now we're at 6 o'clock, heading north. So more than likely, it's already passed through Louisville. There could be some development well south. That you can't rule it out, but it's on that warm frontal boundary that's now from Madison, Cincinnati, Seymour, Columbus, Indianapolis, and continuing to move away. So let's shift around to the second wave that arrives with the cold front. Whatever we have out there at that point is going to take some energy away. So we are going to begin to lose some of that fuel. It's also cooling down since it's at night. And there's no charts modeling anywhere with the signal that this cold front moves in and turns into a formed squall line. This looks to be pretty weak in nature in terms of how many showers and thunderstorms it will create. There'll be some. It's going to be windy. There's definitely a lot of wind with that jet stream, blustery night, gust, non-thunderstorm gusts greater than 30 or 35 miles per hour. But if we're going to get anything severe, it would probably be some isolated severe thunderstorm warnings with the main potential, some damaging straight line wind. And I don't want to dismiss that like there's no concern with it, because that's not the case. I don't want you to think that. I just, as you look at this and you're checking out, you know, what of these products, which one are we having to pay most attention to? It's the warm front versus the cold front. I would put my money on this cold front, or on this warm front, all day, as the one being the biggest troublemaker. So if you're just now tuning in, it's 11:44. I'm going to roll through one more time with our future radar, because I have to get ready for the midday show. I won't be able to spend much more time on this, but I want to just roll through this one more time just to help you plan 2 to 3 o'clock, I-64, at least somewhere in that vicinity, lifting north. And the storm motion will be to the northeast, but these individual discrete supercells will want to arc along that warm front and actually work down to the east. And we might see some turn to the southeast today as it's feeding off of those winds just moving along that boundary. So there could be some interesting motion to it. And the base of the clouds today is very low. That's another aspect of this. The cloud base that we have out there is relatively low, which sometimes tends to help aid in rotation funnels. I think it's going to be easy to produce some funnel clouds today. Not all of those would necessarily get down to the ground, but with the twisting of the winds and the low cloud base, I think we're going to have some views in southern Indiana, I-64, southern Indiana up towards Indianapolis, where we can see some tornadoes and some funnel clouds out of this particular pattern. And one more look before I shut this down, one more look at our Storm Prediction Center outlook and what I had drawn on this morning. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to take questions. I'm looking at the board here just to see if I can grab one question. Is Bedford, Kentucky going to get it? Amanda is asking about that. Bedford, Kentucky has the possibility. In Trimble County, I would expect 2 to 5 o'clock. If there's going to be anything going up in Trimble County or around Trimble County, 2 to 5 o'clock would be the best chance for that. Once you get after 5 or 6 o'clock, most of the action is pushing to the north. So that would be the main time frame for you in Bedford, Trimble County, up on the Highway 42, 421 area. So the Storm Prediction Center, with that enhanced risk, this is the greatest risk area that I had drawn on. This morning, before they put the enhanced risk out, I just wanted to pass along the word, like there's still that specific area where we need to highlight because some of those parameters are a bit higher. So my area pretty much matched up with the enhanced risk. That's what we're looking at. Tornado warnings likely, a few hail reports, and an appetizer to a severe weather season that gets started. Hopefully this will not turn into much more than we're expecting right now. But if it does happen the way we're forecasting, then, well, I would plan on some tornado warnings and go on and be ready to take the necessary precautions today just to play it safe. It is 11:47, and we have some nice comments from people. There's someone about Madison. Shelby asking about Madison, Indiana. It's about the same for Madison as what we were looking at with the Bedford County question. Milton, Madison, Bedford. I'll leave you with this look here for you, Shelby. As we watch these storms, those supercells develop between 2 and 4, begin to lift. So near Madison, if you're going to get any severe weather in the Madison area, it's most likely between, I would say, 3 to 6 in Madison, close to that time frame. And then once we get past 7, most of those should be lifting north. Can't rule out something on the southern flank, just a random pop-up, but most of that would occur in that time frame. I hope this helped. We're here for you all day. I'm on the Midday Show. Matthew Wine's coming in on his day off. Mark Weinberg will be in here shortly. We've got the whole weather team. Rick and Bryce are always, even on their days off, they're monitoring things, and stay with them on social media. We've got you covered. We'll get you through this. We're going to be fine. We are. We're going to make it through. This isn't a surprise. We know what the chances are with this particular outlook, and we'll make it through okay.